Hey guys, and welcome back to Twilight Princess. We come now to the home of the third and final fused shadow piece, and we enter it quite similarly to how we entered the Water Temple and Ocarina of Time. This is the Lakebed Temple, where the Zoras go to pray, but you won't find any here, not now.
Thing about this dungeon, like all the others, is it's going to be reference-tastic. Like those monsters that we just passed, you have the shell blades, which you saw in the Water Temple, and you got the berries, which are the jellyfish that you see inside Jabu's belly. But they're pretty independent in this game.
I see a lot of the Great Bay Temple in this one, specifically later on.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too, that with the Forest Temple in this game, it was obviously Great Deku Tree and more the concept of what the Forest Temple was meant to be. It has monkeys, but the monkeys had nothing to do with the actual dungeon in Majora's Mask. The Fire Temple was straight up the Dodongo's Cavern Fire Temple.
Yeah.
There wasn't so much of Snow Peak. With the Lake Bay Temple, it's clearly the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time, and like you said, Great Bay, not so much with inside Jabu's belly. I mean, other than, I guess you could say pulling that switch in the first room is like hitting the uvula.
That's kind of what the dungeons in Twilight Princess are, and I mean this in a good way. They're like the greatest hits version of previous Zelda dungeons.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was talking about dungeons and trying to show my knowledge, but we got some chew jelly. There's a lot of that in this game. Do you really know what most of them even do, Tom?
Well, the purple one I think is random. Red obviously functions as a red potion. There's a gold one as well, I think. Don't quote me on that.
Alright, let's clear this all up. So the purple, yeah, is pretty much random. It either gives you a heart, takes away a heart, or takes pretty much all of your hearts away.
Damn.
So don't even, that's why I was so confused that you would drink purple chew jelly, of all jellies, to demonstrate what they do. And there is, not gold, it's yellow. And it serves as lantern oil.
Okay.
You were correct about the red. There's also blue, and that works as a blue potion, restores all your hearts. There's also a rare one, but that will come later. There's two unused ones. One that you can still get in the game, and one that is only in the game's code. There's a green chew jelly, which in previous Zelda games, green potion was usually what you needed to refill your magic meter, but Twilight Princess is a very big exception in the series where it doesn't have a magic meter, even though in the box art for the Wii version, one of the screen caps has Link with a magic meter.
Lazy. Inconsistent, Nintendo, get on it.
Like, there's false advertising, and then there's box art lying to me. If I can't trust the box art, who can I trust?
This right here, I would say, is the hardest part of the entire temple, if just for the fact that you have to, like, pull switches and it moves the staircase around, so you gotta kind of manipulate that, remember, like, which staircase leads to which door, and so on. There's only one, but it confuses the likes of me, so I consider that a hard puzzle.
And it's right at the beginning, too, so it can really catch you off guard. But yeah, that is the hardest part of this whole dungeon. A lot of people do complain that, oh, there's too many floors, or this dungeon is too big. But here's a trick to help minimize the vastness of this dungeon. You can divide the entire dungeon into 4 quadrants. You have east side, west side. And then you can divide those by upper and lower floor. So really, you just have 4 main areas to this dungeon. Once you think of it that way, it really simplifies just the entire progress of this temple.
And really, say you go to west side, and you get the water flowing there, that's the main gimmick for this dungeon. Appropriate, since it's a water-themed dungeon. You basically, like, fight the mini-boss, and get the item, and come back and do it on the east side and such.
It's the structure of the Lakebed Temple is pretty similar to the Fire Temple in Ocarina of Time. Like, I know we were saying that, oh, this draw is exclusively from Water Temples, but yeah, the Ocarina of Time Fire Temple was essentially an east circle and west circle, and then you just went up and down in floors in those 2 sections. This is kind of similar, only except you have to go to all of the west side, and you have to go to all of the east side, whereas in the Fire Temple, you could pretty much skip most of the east.
Now, until we get the item in this dungeon, is it the backslash?
Backslash, or you can even just knock these, they're called Helmosaurs. Let's get that out of the way. I will never miss an opportunity to bring up a Link to the Past enemies. So, You can backslash the Helmosaurs, or you can even just attack their metal front, which won't do damage, but it will stun them. So it'll give you an opportunity to flank them and get them from behind.
These platforms above us will eventually move, but we've got to power the, I guess, hydroelectric stuff.
There's a cutscene when you enter the main area that shows a current going around the central room, which is really weird because that has nothing to do with the dungeon. It's really weird that they would put a cinematic saying, hey, we've made a dungeon before where you had to deal with water flux, but here's a cutscene. Now you can forget about it.
It's also weird that this is a water-based dungeon, and besides us having to raise the water level, you don't really have to rely on that to reach different rooms. It's just more the central staircase.
You're going to be relying more on your own climbing abilities and then the dungeon item. But yeah, water, despite being used as the main puzzle gimmick, is not going to be used as your main traversal method.
I'll give you one major tip. Look up. If you can master that, you've mastered the Lakebed Temple. Trust me on this. Pretty
much, yeah. I had that issue. I'm not going to lie. It was like, what do I do in this room? Oh.
Yeah, that's the thing with Zelda dungeons. You can think yourself so clever, oh, I know the answer to every puzzle the game can throw at me. But sometimes it's like situational, environmental, and it's just something on the ceiling. Hello, Master Quest.
Yeah, that's pretty much... Yeah, Master Quest. Silly game.
Well, here's an old friend of ours.
Hooray, the Uku! Oko? A cuckoo?
A cuckoo. Sounds about right.
So, do you think it's just one in all the dungeons, or are we talking multiple one per dungeon? Because they all seem to have the exact same issue here.
Oh, I think it's just the one, and it's kind of stalking Link. We put out the wrong impression in the Forest Temple, I think.
Yeah, but we put out a good enough impression that we became pen pals with that cuckoo.
I guess, yeah.
Another alternative to finding the Helmosaurus before you have the dungeon item is to just don't.
Yeah, just don't.
Yeah, because the door behind him isn't locked, so you're just wasting your time doing this.
Well, you know, I've got a grudge against Helmosaurs now. Let me work it out.
What game and what did they do to you? Point on the doll where the game hurt you.
I never finished A Link to the Past, so there's your answer. Oh, there's the Zora Sapphire symbol.
Well, yeah, I figured that'd be pretty obvious since we brought up the Kokiri Emerald doors in Forest Temple and the Goron Ruby symbols in the mines.
Can I just appreciate the finer details of the dungeon design, which looks very nice, by the way. Lots of coral, lots of, like, scales and whatnot.
Yeah, it's also got that effect where there's wear and tear in it from the water. There's sort of like barnacle growing on some of the lower areas, and then you also have the vines that you can definitely tell it's seaweed that's just growing out of the walls.
I don't think we've mentioned the music in dungeons much. I would say it's more ambient than exciting. You know, it fits a place where you're going to be in here. You know, just look at the runtime in this video for like upwards of 40 minutes, and that's with no mistakes at all.
Congratulations. I'm impressed.
There's no need to be patronizing, actually.
But you're gonna have to agree on the ambience of the music. Although the musics definitely share thematic themes with obviously the previous dungeons of similar elements. I mean, you got very similar feels from the music in this temple as with the water temple, but there's definitely no musical cues that are exactly the same. But you definitely get the exact same sort of feelings, and they got similar tempos. Yeah, this dungeon also continues the trend of breaking the usual Zelda tradition of solve the room puzzle, get the room key. Instead, you just got keys chilling there, and you see the chest, and you assume, it's probably like 10 rupees, probably some bombs, I don't know, it's just sitting there. And then, nope, it was a key. You missed out.
These Lizalfos are hilarious, because they always charge at me, and I just jump attack them, and then they fly into the gap between, like, the ground and the cog.
They also sound like cougars or like panthers when they charge at you. It's hilarious. They've also, in case you noticed, they have an axe tied to their tails. How badass is that? That's fucking metal.
Oh, I remember the reveal trailer when Link was, like, fighting one of those.
This enemy's name always weirded me out. Like, these guys are called worms. They're called chew worms, to be specific, but they have limbs. You can clearly see that it's not a worm, it's more like a cockroach or something. So I don't get why they're called chew worms.
Is it worm as in dragon, like W-Y-R-M?
No, it's like an earthworm.
Nintendo going Nintendo, I guess. Okay, here's the first of two major rooms that we're going to visit to get the water flowing again. It's just basically like a spiral going up, pretty easy.
Yeah. First we gotta climb.
Just real slow.
Can we just have a sound cue for that or something? Like, you don't even need commentary from us half the time. You can just have a soundboard.
Yeah, let's get a Matthew Matosis soundboard. I'm not trying to be funny, but he pronounces free like tree, and as a fellow Irishman who has an English accent, I just find that adorable.
I find pretty much every accent that's not American adorable. Lots of tech-types too to be annoying within this dungeon. Most of the enemies are really non-threatening. They're just there to move around, sidetrack you, distract you, waste your time, but...
break up the tedium as well of running up this spiral.
Yeah, true that. Another thing too is with those small chests, you want to check all of them because, you know, one of them might just happen to be the key, but there are a lot of chests with just bombs, water bombs, normal bombs, and 10 rupees. Like, I get that it's very nice to replenish your inventory, but there's one in like every single room. It's like, who did you program these for? Who used 10 water bombs in this room and needed to be refilled?
I don't know, man. Some people just like to go crazy and throw them at the Helmosaurs. It's not going to do anything if it's a front-on explosion, but, you know.
But water slides are friggin' sweet.
I might just put in Peach's slide in, like, post.
Ah, dude, it's the best part. That was such a weird water texture. I know we go on about how great it is, but they could have at least done water flowing a little bit better.
Hey, it's rendering a whole entire dungeon, okay? I can forgive a little bit of popping.
Guess some of us have standards.
Yeah, what are you, some kind of 30 FPS pleb?
People can't even tell the difference, whatever.
There we go. It's like a little carousel.
Carousel of death with enemies and pain. I'd go to a carnival of pain. I like how they kept the fact that tech-types can float on water.
Oh yeah, they're just slightly above it. I never noticed though.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell that they're partially inspired by water skeeters, so...
Oh, like that one Pokemon from Gen 3.
Yeah, Surskit. That is exactly what they're trying to be. Okay, I'm just gonna appreciate the fact that they very easily could have just reused the vine texture that they've used for the rest of the game, but they decided to make, like I said, a more seaweed-looking vine texture to help with the ambience. It's really nice.
Yeah, because if they used the same texture from the Forest Temple, I wouldn't say I would have been taken completely out of the experience, but I would have known, like, subconsciously something was amiss.
My immersion.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, get ready for an ambush as soon as we open this chest.
Oh no, but a door didn't lock behind us. Man, it's like I'm not even playing a Zelda game. All the rules have been broken.
There's a yellow chew.
Oh, that reminds me, I did miss the one that we were talking about. There's black chew jelly. You can't get it. It's in the code, and there's no use for it, really. You can get text from it saying that it smells really bad even with the lid closed, but I don't know. Maybe we can brainstorm some uses for what black chew jelly would have been used for.
Oil, maybe?
I guess, or dark matter. You know, spill it all over an enemy and it just erodes them away. I also love how you don't really drop into water a lot of places. That was the weird thing with the water temple, is that because the dungeon for the most part was artificial, water just, it didn't feel natural. Like, it reached exactly so high per floor. But with this dungeon, like you saw right there, there was an incline down into the water. I'm not putting down Ocarina of Time for that because, you know, that's just a design choice. I'm just praising Twilight Princess for, you know, not sticking to that old design and instead, you know, making it feel a lot more natural in the dungeon.
Yeah, these feel like very natural. It's like a bit of environment where they've just built around it rather than replacing it.
Even though I still have to question what the hell is being worshipped here.
What goddess would you associate most closely with the Zoras? Would it be the blue one?
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's just give it to Nehru? Sure, why not?
Look up, stupid.
We told you, it's the rule of the dungeon, just go with it.
Oh my god.
Ew. Ew!
What is it with water-themed dungeons and mini-bosses that have lots of eyes?
Or hanging from the ceiling at that.
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess Swamp Palace set a precedence for that.
What was the mini-boss in that dungeon?
It didn't really have a mini-boss, but the boss did have a lot of, like, smaller enemies around it that you had to rip off of it before you could slice it.
Okay, so what's this guy all about? What's their deal?
You've played the dungeon in Majora's Mask, right? You've gotten to the mini-boss, right?
Uh-huh.
It's the exact same. What you want to do is clear out all the Totos, which are what the little tadpoles are. And no, they don't bless the rains down in Africa.
Nice.
I knew where that was going, but you clear them out, and then the big Deku frog will try and squish you, and you have to use the game old tradition of looking at the shadow and avoiding it. Then it will try and roar at you, and then it'll repeat the process. You know, it'll spawn more Totos, and then it'll try and fall on you from the ceiling, but you can prevent that from ever happening by shooting bomb arrows into its mouth.
You can get it in basically an infinite loop until it dies.
Exactly, and which I love.
Which is what I'm going to do right here, actually.
Thank Christ! I saw how long the part was and was like, oh god, it must be because Tom fucked up the mini-boss.
Thanks. Love that little bit of a... What's the word I'm looking for here?
Regardless of that, this boss is pretty much just like Wart. Or just like the Gecko. Which, once again, they kind of misnamed because he's clearly frog-based.
Ew.
We're not going to touch it, right? Please don't! No!
You were worried about chests just being there. This one was spat up.
No, I'm just going to take the random chest, thank you.
Bada bing. Hookshot. Or clawshot, sorry.
Ooh, you're gonna get the comment section correcting you.
It's not like I'm not used to it at this point. Alright, give us a spiel, Mr. Salesman.
It is the best version of the hookshot ever. I don't even care about the gameplay wise. The design makes it the best hookshot iteration in all of Zelda. It's so badass. The little tweak that they added to it, because most of the dungeon items that they bring back, they've added their little tweaks to them. The tweak with this is that once you've latched onto a target, you can stay latched on and actually raise and lower yourself along the chain, which is super cool. Now you can be Spider Link.
Gets even better later on in the game, but I shan't spoil that surprise for this game that's almost 10 years old.
Yeah, no, don't you spoil a damn thing or I will block you.
Block you good and proper. Alright, now we can move on to the other side of the dungeon and basically repeat the process. That's Lakebed Temple in a nutshell.
So that was the west side clear. Like I said, once you think of it in 4 quadrants, it gets a lot easier. You go to upper west for water, you go to lower west for item, and now you just repeat the process with upper east, lower east.
I love how you can throw the Helmasaur's armor back at them and it actually does damage.
Yes, that is absolutely the best part of fighting them. I also like how you can just ditch the carousel. If you want, you can latch onto all the seaweed that's around you, or, you know, go back the way you came along that ramp. They're all pretty much the same length of time, so I'm not even mad.
Nah, not gonna fire that one. I've made my peace.
Yeah. We've wasted enough time. Let's continue on. Alright, we got a cinematic to let you know, Tom, that you are making progress. Congratulations.
Awesome.
Did you know that Midna actually has really interesting things to say about this dungeon in particular? Like, it's really cool that in all other dungeons, Midna will just say, hey, hurry up and get my few shadow, or later on in the game, get my whatever. But specifically for Lakebed, she manages to essentially become an internet commentator, and she starts with high hopes. Like, she actually talks about how beautiful and how cool the dungeon looks, but as you continue to progress, the amount of fuck she gives just progressively drops.
Oh, I love context-sensitive dialogue.
Oh, it's hilarious. Eventually she gets to the point where she's like, why the hell did they build such a big-ass dungeon?
Probably still stuck on the central chamber.
It's like, damn, Minna, you could use a guide, or you could watch our playthrough.
Just saying.
Water wheels, like I said, giving this dungeon more of an inspiration from Majora's Mask than exclusively Ocarina of Time.
Oh yeah, water wheels especially from I would say the central room in the Great Bay Temple. It's not really at the center of the dungeon, but this is the one you come back to. I would say the most.
They're in a lot of rooms, but yeah, the main room does have a water wheel. You could have just dropped, it wasn't going to affect where you fell.
I was being careful, okay?
You had to worry about Link's dainty ankles?
Seriously, I'm not using bombs. I've been using bomb arrows, I guess, so thank you for that.
See what I mean? I want to know who was the playtester that recommended this. Who were you? Call me. I have to know your secrets for wasting bombs at such a rate.
Please, Ayanuma-san, the players, they must have the bombs. Then it shall be done.
Talk about breaking the flow here.
Sorry, man.
I know it's not your fault you designed poor climbing, but, why?
Something like that would have caused me to do a retake, honestly.
I think it's just silly. Link's like, no, I don't want to continue, I want to go back, and then I just see you arguing with Link's like, no, you will continue with the dungeon.
This thing before was kind of like a mini-boss. Now they become kind of commonplace.
That's the deal with this dungeon that, it's also really different. This dungeon really breaks a lot of the norms, and I love it, because it's not like they obnoxiously break the norms, and it's like, oh, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing, but normally in a dungeon, you'll have enemies that you can deal with right at the beginning, and you don't really get the tactical enemies until after you've acquired the item. This dungeon throws them at you from the get-go, and you're like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And then you get the clawshot, and it's like, oh, everything comes together, like, you see the Matrix.
Damn, I love that sound effect.
So satisfying. There's so many things about the clawshot that are so good.
I would recommend just taking out the bubble part of the enemy first, and then go to town on the worms themselves.
You can also just clawshot them out of the bubble.
Of course.
Yeah, like I said, clawshot works on everything, and it's super snazzy. Look, they even jump. What kind of worm jumps? The biologist in me is really mad right now. So salty. Also, are the bubbles, like, tied to their life? Because once the worms die, the bubble goes away as well.
Maybe it's a waterbender, and it just cast all superfluous water out of his body to make a shield.
Oh, snap. Don't get too close or it'll bend your blood. And here we have the mirror of the previous room from northwest. And the thing about that is that it had clawshot targets all along the walls, like you can see here. And there is a chest in that room at the very top that you can't get until you have the clawshot. And it sort of reminds me of the room in the water temple, the snake room. How you had to wear the iron boots to get through the current, and then you could occasionally use the hookshot to get through it. Because you have the current of the water slide pushing you back, but you can use the clawshot to, grab onto the target, put on your iron boots, clawshot to the next target, put on your iron boots. It's very, very similar. And when I first saw it, it clicked in my head right away. It's like, oh shit, it's the snake room all over again. But thankfully, it's optional.
Shoutouts to Ocarina of Time 3DS once again for making the iron boots toggable, if that's even a word.
It is now.
they kind of changed this room up a little bit from its previous incarnation, like gaps in the spiral tower. You got Helmosaurs instead of Techites and the like.
Pretty sure that most of those gaps are caused by the geysers themselves. It's sort of a double-bladed sword with this dungeon. It wants all this water to be its central mechanic, but then you realize, oh shit, the water is actually kind of breaking the temple apart, and it might not last for very much longer.
I think the thing you're looking for there, mate, is a double-edged sword.
I don't know weaponry metaphors.
Fuck water. Oh, thank God. I was having trouble finding treasure there for a second.
I know. Now we can see where all the bombs and red rupees are at. Thank you.
Man, you're so cynical, Mexican cynic monkey.
I love this game. I am not trying to be mean or anything, but there are certain points where even trying to talk about it in a good mood is very difficult, but I promise you, I like this game. It's fun to play, and it's kind of fun to talk about it with Anton? Question mark?
Kind of? Question mark? Fish skeleton things in the water from Majora's Mask.
Oh, okay. We're just gonna segue that way. That's cool.
That's it. We're pretty much done with the dungeon now, but there's still a teeny bit more to do before we can reach the boss arena.
And frankly, this part could have been entirely skipped. You actually only need to raise the water once instead of twice to get to the boss room, but the boss key is pretty much needed in the casual sense. I mean, obviously, I know a few trick or two to just completely skip the boss key, but we're just going to keep those to ourselves.
So how do Zoras get around this dungeon and open doors without the clawshot?
I asked the same question about the Gorons and the magnets all over the place. It's so weird that these temples are dungeons. Like, they're designed as dungeons, they're designed around the gameplay, and they completely just throw out the story concept of what these dungeons are. It's a little, I don't know, there's sort of a disconnect, but at the same time, I'm not going to argue with the great dungeon design that is in this game.
Now, I'm not sure if this is what you're supposed to do, but I took a leap of faith there.
Oh no, that's exactly what you can and should do.
Nice.
I like going up and down in this part.
Just to confuse the keys.
Yeah, they can be a bit more dickish when you're helplessly just latched onto the roof. You can also use your boomerang too. You can lock onto them and the wind will pull them towards you and then you just slash them. There's lots of ways to deal with keys. I appreciate that because I hate them. And I wish them dead.
That's just mean, mate. Keys have a right to live just as much as any of, the other races in Hyrule.
I don't know, it's like the Disney hierarchy of races. If you're not a main humanoid race, we don't give a shit, and you can die.
You hear that, Pluto? You're second class, mate.
Ouch. I love how they gave him a diving animation. It's so cool. There's you can actually get it a little bit sooner. In the main room, there's a giant chandelier above it,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
there's a piece of heart up there. And it's hilarious that after you've switched the staircase to become a water slide, you can hook onto the chandelier, get the piece of heart, and then you dive off the chandelier and land on the stairs. It's hilarious. It's like, oh no, Link, your spine! But no, he's an invincible video game character.
Oh my god, the bombs are alive!
No, this is just where I guess Barnes gets his bombs? I don't know, do the Zoras harvest these bomb fish to become water bombs?
They must do, yeah. It's like using their hollowed out corpses.
And it's like, well then how does Barnes sell them? Maybe he draws inspiration, like he saw these bomb fish, it's like, I could make bombs that look like these guys. But, I don't know, the Forest Temple had bombling, so it's kind of weird that there's multiple species in Hyrule that decided to become explosive.
Barnes does business with the Gorons, that's the most obvious kind of business thing going on there. The Zoras are buried in Kakariko Graveyard, so maybe they venture there just to mourn or visit their dead relatives from time to time.
Either way, it does seem like Barnes has really, really big connections.
Having a bit of trouble here, don't mind me.
Yeah, let's just say that underwater combat, despite what you're seeing on screen now, works a lot better.
Thanks.
In Ocarina of Time, you could only use the hook shot, but in Twilight Princess, you can now use your sword. Very, very helpful.
Vote of confidence, that was the phrase I was looking for way back when.
I'm sorry, Tom, but when there's not much to talk about, I always just default to talking about you.
Yeah, default, just shit talk me. That'll pad out like a good 5-10 minutes.
You're like my second favorite topic to talk about after Hyrule mythology.
My importance has really dwindled since the start of this dungeon. Just kill me. I long for the sweet embrace of death.
Yeah, now he really is a mini boss. Lots of mini bosses in this dungeon, but yeah, none of them of any sort of problem.
I really should get the wallet upgrade, but I have committed to getting all the golden bugs in a single part, so we shall stay locked at 300 rupees max until then.
Hey, 300 is a pretty nice number. Besides, we don't need money yet, so... There's also a puzzle with this room. If you just pull down the switch and let go, the gate that are open beneath you will close before you have a chance to fall through, so, the solution is lower yourself below the grate, then let go. But that just begs the question of, when the grate closes, why doesn't it pinch the clawshot chain? Zelda logic? I don't know.
Try not to think about it too much.
There is your boss key, and they still look terrible. I hate the design. Seriously, I have a boss key keychain, and it looks 20 times better than the actual boss key in this game.
What, from Twilight Princess?
The keychain looks a lot like the Spirit Track Nightmare key.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's really cool. Never leave home without a boss key. You never know when you're gonna need it.
Yeah, just in case you get, I don't know, a bit wasted, and you can't find your actual keys, boom, master key, opens any lock.
Exactly.
Although that does raise the question of whether your house is a boss arena.
I don't know, maybe we are just a glorified puzzle. This backtracking can also be pretty annoying.
That's why I left it in, actually.
We could have gotten a fade. There was one earlier. Why didn't we get one for this?
Hey, this run of this room did not have me falling into the abyss, so it does not get a fade.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll give you that victory. Although, to be fair, you've had better moments within this dungeon. I mean, that mini-boss fight was really good.
Look, I can't handle criticism, okay? Whether it be negative or positive, so just drop it.
And Tom, you play game good.
Alright, send your caveman. Hours later.
2 weeks later.
Oh, thanks. You ever just had a craving for 20 rupees? Well, this dungeon has your number.
Yeah, if you like the color red and you love rupees, then go to this dungeon. It's full of it. You want bombs? Full of it. Water bombs? Even more of them. But yeah, you should really make sure you have more than one bomb bag before you come into this dungeon, because it can kind of be a pain having either just water bombs or just regular bombs. And there you go, water level full. Or you could just slowly drop down from the chandelier after you've raised the water once.
We could do that, but I follow the guide to the letter.
Oh yeah, and this allows you to get the full experience of the dungeon. Just if you want to skip half of it, that's how. If you want to skip all of it, you use a palm to vine clip and then you just swim to the load zone that's under the dungeon, because getting into the boss arena is pretty different in this game. You fall down into it, you don't just enter a room.
Oh, I don't like this. It's far too dark, I can't see where I'm falling to.
Just look for the golden tooth, dude, and you'll be fine.
I was going to say, it's exactly like that one mission in the Sunshine where you have to clean the eel's teeth. Oh, I see a tentacle. I don't like where this is going.
Well, I guess there were more references to Jabu Jabu's belly than I thought. Shame on me.
Or, Morpher.
Oh, yeah, now that I see that. I like how there's so many build-ups to this boss. It's like, hey, remember this boss? Do you remember this boss? What about this boss? Well, how's about you fight the real boss?
Oh my god. Yeah, just a gaping maw to ram home the underwater horror. Morpheel, Twilight Aquatic.
Jesus Christ, we're fighting a lamprey. What the actual fuck?
First part of this fight, pretty simple. You just target the eye and clawshot it. Very nearly said hookshot there. Also very nearly got twatted by the tentacle.
Luckily you got saved by cinematics.
Hells yeah, I will never question the cinematic feel of a video game ever again.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
I would say the only tricky part about this is, again, the claw shot. It sends out these things, and it seems like not so much as a danger to you, but more so that you don't have a chance to target the eye really quickly.
They're definitely not as aggro as, say, the little worms in the Wind Waker boss against Mulgara.
Oh yeah.
How it kind of spawned those little kids, and those just went straight for you. They were out for blood. The little fish here, I mean, they're just minding their own business.
I'd recommend staying, as far away as you can from Morpheel, while still being in range to give it a claw shot or two.
And luckily, it has a pretty good reticle, so you know when you're actually in range and when you're just gonna whiff it. This doesn't seem as fun as Morpha, though, because there's no corner to pin that orb against.
Well, you asked for fun, here comes Phase 2, and I love this part of the fight.
Fun, fun, fun.
Okay, Mr. Cynic, you can't enjoy a rip-roaring Shadow of the Colossus style boss fight, then I want nothing more to do with you.
Fuck yeah, Shadow of the Colossus boss fights. Hells yes.
And not only does it allow you to take advantage of swimming in 3D, but it's just cool to boot.
Yeah, it's so awesomely designed. Like, they didn't just, oh, hey, let's make a bigger version of the fishes we made. No, they went all out. Like, the spines are all got this red tint. Like, maybe it's covered in blood? You don't know.
Yes, stab that sucker.
Now I just really want a seal, and I really want black smoke. So, is Morpheel just the eye and the entire fish is, some artificial armor? Or is Morpheel still the fish lamprey as a whole?
I guess we'll have to hope some biologists comment on our videos.
Yeah, I'm commenting on it right now, and I'm very, very confused.
Well, you're exempt. That's kind of unfair, really.
Could you imagine fighting this boss without the Zora Tunic?
Doesn't even bear thinking about, mate, honestly.
It's pretty interesting, though, because, you still have your breath timer, but, there's a way where you can replenish your breath by unequipping the iron boots and dropping a water bomb. For some weird reason, that just refills your air.
Great boss. First form's a little bit boring, second form more than makes up for it. Still ridiculously easy. You'll notice I didn't even take a single hit in that fight. Compared to, say, Baronade or Morpha from Ocarina, and it's a huge drop in terms of difficulty.
I'd probably rank it the best, but yeah, in terms of difficulty, it falls really, really low.
So, what do we think about the Lakebed Temple as a whole, mate?
When people say that, oh, it's just as confusing as the Water Temple, no, it's not. I enjoy this temple a lot. Aesthetic-wise, it's one of the best in the first 3. And difficulty-wise, I actually think it's good difficulty-wise. Good enemy placement. It just gets a little weird that there's a bomb chest in every single room.
Well, they want you to use bombs, mate, and that looks suspiciously similar to Midna's helmet. Here she is for reference.
I like how she pops up right when it was sort of in the exact same angle.
Well, there we go. All 3 fused shadows. I guess the plot can actually start moving again, though.
Hooray! If I know my Zelda games, you get your first 3 items, shit goes down.
That's one trope I'm actually okay with.
I hate when it actually doesn't happen because I subconsciously anticipate it, and then when I don't get it, oh,
well, you just sound entitled, mate.
oh, well, I am a gamer. How else am I supposed to feel?
Of course. Nice of you to put the ball on one of the islands and not in the water itself. Appreciate it.
Oh, you wouldn't want Link to get his flippers wet, now wouldn't you?
I should probably take this armor off, because we're not going to need it again, at least not for a while.
No, you keep that armor on, at all times.
No, I don't want to be, like, doubly susceptible to fire and ice.
Damn it!
Well, on that note, guys, we shall see you next time, where, as Mexi said, hopefully some shit will go down. See you then.